Hey guys, it's Nicole. I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about Wicked the movie. So I finally saw it. I did not see it opening weekend. I was a little hesitant with all the crowds that I knew would be there. Plus the holidays were coming up and it was just getting a little too crazy. So I was like, I'm gonna go see it the week after. So I did. I saw it recently. And I will say this right now, I'm not going to say any spoilers right now. I will save the spoilers for the end of the video, kind of like how I do with my book thoughts / review videos. I'll be like, hey, here's the part of the video with spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, stop watching now. But we're not going to get to that yet. First, I just want to say that Wicked the movie, part 1, because there's going to be a part 2, probably, I think it's a year from now. I did not look up the next release date, but Wicked the movie part 1 is amazing. I think it lives up to the hype. I'm so glad, honestly, that they did it in 2 parts. And I think my fellow theater lovers will agree with me, because if you've ever seen Wicked the musical or read the book or anything, you know just how much there is into the stories that are created, because it's not just Glinda and Elphaba's stories. The thing that is so great about Wicked is that so many of the characters have their own things going on. You know, there's like Nessarose, and then there's a little bit about the wizard, and then you get a little bit about Boq. You actually get a lot more of Boq in the book, so in case you guys liked Boq in Wicked, if you're interested, there's a lot more of him in the book. So I think it lives up to the hype. It was very smart of them to put it into 2 parts. And this is not a spoiler, but the first part ends where the first act ends in the musical. So it's like defying gravity, boom, done. And now we have what's basically a very long intermission. So it's like almost a year-long intermission until we get the second act or part 2. And can't wait to see it. And the other thing that I think a lot of people will like if they are into the musical is that the movie follows the musical to a T. Like, sure, there's a little bit like extra because they had time to put in more things, more character things in the movie because they were doing it in 2 parts, but it follows the musical pretty much exactly. You know, it's got all of the songs, all of the plot points that lead to those songs, and everything in it that is pretty much the musical to a T. And I love that so much, because it's like being a book lover when you love the book so much that you just want the book itself to be a movie. Like, just take the book and like read the book and just make the movie. You know what I mean? So if you're a theater lover, you're gonna love Wicked. You're gonna love the movie. It's just like the musical on Broadway. It's perfect. And I have been hearing mixed reviews about people's thoughts about the actors that played the parts. I've heard nothing but glowing reviews for Cynthia Erivo's portrayal, which she deserves, because boy, oh boy, do I love her as Elphaba. Oh my God, it's just so good. Like, she is such the perfect choice to play that character. And I think that there's a lot of people that could play that character really, really well. And I just love what she brings to it. So I'm very, very happy that they chose her. And so excited to see part 2, because I know what happens in part 2. I'm not going to say anything right now, but I'm very excited. And I really, really loved her portrayal of Elphaba. I thought it was amazing. The controversy I've heard mostly comes from Ariana Grande's performance of Glinda, or Galinda. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, or read the book. But personally, I think a lot of that hate stems from people's personal feelings towards her. Because of course, if you don't know the Wicked drama with her and Ethan Slater and the rumors going around about the 2 of them, like, yes, they are confirmed in a relationship, but there's rumors, you know, involving them and their previous marriages that they were in right before they got together. And so there's a lot of controversy and a lot of people not really sure what the timeline is. And I don't know either. I might make a video about that, because I like to clear things up with just the facts. We're not talking about rumors, just the facts of like, this is this and this, and now they're together, like, you know. because we don't know them. So we can't really judge them personally. I mean, I don't know them personally. Maybe some of you who are watching this do know them personally, but I don't know them personally. So I don't like to make up rumors and make snap judgments because I don't know them. We only know certain things that people have said as like rumors or what they've confirmed themselves. But I think that's kind of where the controversy towards her is coming from. I don't think it's from her portrayal as Glinda, because personally I loved it. Oh my God. Like, how I feel about Cynthia Erivo's portrayal of Elphaba is exactly how I feel about Ariana Grande's portrayal of Glinda. I thought it was beautiful. I thought she did a great job bringing way different things to the character than other people have. And it just felt like a good fit, you know? Both of them felt like a good fit for those two. And I'm so happy with the casting. And, you know, I think that a lot of people tend to forget that Ariana Grande started in musical theater, like me. She was a musical theater kid when she was growing up. And then she became more into pop music, you know, once she got, you know, more TV deals and other things like that, and started singing more, like on Victorious, if any of you know the Nickelodeon show from when I was a kid. And that's when she started becoming more of her own like musician, singing pop music and everything. But she started in musical theater, so she's a musical theater kid. So I think there was a lot of judgment around what she was going to do with the character, because maybe some people were like, oh yeah, she's just gonna do pop music or a bunch of riffs or whatever. And yeah, I kind of didn't want that, because I like the way Wicked was written, and it's such a dear show to my heart that I did not want that. But I think a lot of people made snap judgments that she would just do that. And she even came out recently and said that Glinda's an important character to her. She's always wanted to play this character, and she was going to do it right. She was going to take the character and take good care of her, as she quoted herself, and do the music true to the original, you know, music. She was going to do it to the original score. She wasn't just going to make up her own thing. And I thought she did an amazing job. I loved hearing her singing all those songs, singing Popular. That was amazing. And I hope that the hate dies down for her, at least for her job, for her portrayal as Glinda, you know. And I would also hope that people kind of tend to pull back a little bit with the hate, because look, this is a little bit of a diversion from talking about the movie, but here's how I feel about talking about celebrities in any this kind of way. What we need to understand is our relationship, the public, between us and celebrities is a very unique one, where the public feels this very strong relationship with these people that they have never met. And they feel like they know them because they see them so much. They see them a lot, and maybe they see them talk in interviews a lot, and so they feel like they know these people, like they know them personally. And that can kind of lead to a lot of judgment, because the fact is that they don't know them. We as the public know what is put forth to us. That is all we get. And it can be very easy to fall into the trap of making quick judgments about a celebrity based on the very little amount of knowledge that we're given. I can't say that the two of them had an affair and then got together and he left his wife and she left her husband and everything, because that's not necessarily confirmed. Like, yes, they left their previous spouses and are now together, but it's not black and white, and we don't know them. And I just feel that to say hurtful and mean things about them as people on the internet is kind of unnecessary, and just spreading unnecessary judgment and hate that I feel like we don't need on the internet. Like, it's okay to go and talk to your friends and be like, oh, I can't believe it, this and this, and I can't believe they did this and this and that, because you're just gossiping with friends. But I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that the internet is not your friend. The internet is a ginormous network worldwide where everybody can see what you post if you make it public. And it's kind of cruel, honestly, to just go out there and be saying these things to the entire world that you really should be saying to your friends. So those are my thoughts on that. I'm going to leave that alone and get back to talking about the movie. But I loved the two of them. I thought that they had an amazing chemistry as the friends that they become. I thought that was amazing. Okay, so when it comes to Jonathan Bailey playing Fiyero, I have only seen him in Bridgerton, and I'm still in the middle of season 1. Don't judge me. I did not jump on the bus right when it came out. I did not. Whenever it was, I was busy. I did not have time. So now I'm getting into it. And I love him in Bridgerton. And so I was going into the movie knowing who he was a little bit, and I am a fan now. He is a perfect Fiyero. I love him as Fiyero. Oh my God, it's so good. I loved his version of Dancing Through Life. That was so good. And I think I saw an interview, like a clip where he was like, yeah, there was like months of preparation going into this, like working with vocal coaches and dance like choreographers and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, you can tell that it showed because you could see that he put the work into it. And on top of his talent, it went beautifully. I thought it was such a good dance number and song. And so that aside, because that was obviously really good, I love him for Fiyero because he's very important to the plot of the movie, and I'll explain why a little bit later, but I'm not going to give too many spoilers in this video because there's still part 2 coming out next year. And I'm not going to give spoilers right now. We're not doing spoilers. But he's very important to the movie. He's very important to the plot, very important to the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda. So I thought it was a really good choice, picking Jonathan Bailey. I can't wait to see what happens in part 2 with him. Ethan Slater as Bach is kind of perfect. Because if you've seen the musical or read the book, you know how he is. He's that kind of like, I don't want to say wimpy because that sounds mean, because he's not really wimpy, but he's kind of, yes, small in stature, yes, because he does come from Munchkin Land, so that makes sense. But he's also kind of meek, you know, because it's not a spoiler that he's obsessed with Glinda. That's not really a spoiler, so I can say that. And the things that he does to go to the lengths of trying to win her over is you know, not great. But he's a really great character in and of itself. I have always loved Bach, and I haven't seen Ethan Slater in anything. I know that he was SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical, but I've never seen that. So I had no expectations, but I think he did a great job, and very excited to see what he does in part 2. Oh, that was the other character I wanted to talk about, but I am blanking on her name. I was just looking at it in an article. It'll come to me later and I'll bring it up later in the video. But yeah, so overall, casting, everything I thought was great. I thought Jeff Goldblum as the wizard is a great choice. I think his singing isn't as strong. You know, he fit the character perfectly for the acting part, and I think it meshes really well with all of the other casting choices. But in my personal opinion, his version of Sentimental Man is not the best. Just in my personal opinion. I love Jeff Goldblum, don't get me wrong. I think he's an amazing actor, and I think he's a really cool person from what I know about him that he releases to the world. But personally, I felt like his song wasn't that strong. You know, his voice wasn't that strong. And just kind of compared to the rest of the cast and how much power came from the rest of the cast, it just didn't feel quite even. But I did love the choice. I did love it because his role doesn't necessarily depend on his singing voice, because he's mostly a speaking part. So I'm not disappointed with that choice. I'm just saying I'm a little disappointed in the song because it didn't go, because as if anyone knows the original Broadway production, the role was originated by Joel Grey, which, if you don't know who that is, he is a Broadway legend and a TV and movie legend. He's been in a lot of other things in movie and TV, but he's just this amazing actor who can sing anything. And so knowing his version of the Wizard's song, A Sentimental Man, going into it, I was like, oh, it's not really like that. But that's okay, because I think it worked really well anyways. Because like I said, I don't feel like the Wizard's role is really dependent on his ability to sing. So that was really my only kind of thing with that. I think I would say the same for Michelle Yeoh's performance. I loved her as Madame Morrible. That was a beautiful choice in casting. And I loved what she did with the character so much. But I feel like she's also not a strong singer. But again, same thing. I don't feel like it affected anything because her part doesn't need to be song heavy, you know? It's very natural the way that it went. So I think it went beautifully. I think that it was a good choice. So I'm kind of going to move on now to some little tidbits of spoilers. So that's my thoughts and kind of a review of Wicked the movie. And if you don't want any spoilers, go ahead and stop watching now. And thank you so much for watching. Now we're moving into spoilers. Spoilers are happening now. Obviously, there's going to be a lot revealed in part 2. And I'm going to try to not get into what I know is coming because I know the book and movie and musical really well. But as we all know, if you've already seen the movie, the first part ends with Defying Gravity, which is the song about Elphaba breaking free and deciding to just do her own thing. Because the thing she thought she wanted her whole life turns out to be a fraud, a sham, and is actually working towards the thing she's trying to prevent. Because all of the animals in Oz are losing the ability to speak, their rights are being taken away, because it's a magical world, you know, where animals can talk and they're part of society. But she learns that the wizard is the one causing this, because he's from here, he's from this world, where animals don't talk, where they are put in cages, and he wants to do the same thing to Oz, which is in the book and the musical, because this is accurate. And she thought she wanted to be with the wizard the whole time. And like her whole life, she was like, there's the song, The Wizard and I. She's like, if once I meet the wizard, everything will be better, because my whole life I've been green, I've been hated. Once I'm not green anymore, it'll be perfect. But she discovers that it's the wizard that's doing this to the animals, who she loves. She loves animals. One of the many reasons she's one of my favorite characters ever, because I'm a big animal person. And she goes, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to work for the wizard. So she takes the Grimoire, the book, the magical book from ancient times in Oz, and she books it. She leaves, and she's going to do her own thing now. That's how the first part ends. So we're going to go into the second part next year, seeing what she does and what she's going to do to fix Oz, because the wizard is trying to change Oz to make it more like his world, like Kansas, where he was from. And Elphaba's like, I don't want to let that happen. I'm going to stop you. So that's where we're going to go into in part 2. And obviously, if you've never seen any of it, you don't know the musical, you don't know the book, I think it was really good. And I actually saw it with my best friend, and she doesn't know anything about the musical or the book or anything like that. And she said she loved it. She was very excited for part 2. So I think it was a great movie to make the way that they did, because now you get to go into next year going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, what's she going to do? And it is exciting to see what she does. So I can't wait to see that. I just really loved the way Cynthia and Erivo just completely embodied what Elphaba goes through, because Elphaba is this character that she was literally just born into these circumstances. She's the daughter of the governor of, I don't remember which particular part of Oz he's the governor of, but she's the daughter of a governor, and she's born green. And there's a little bit of lore about that. Again, we're in the part of spoilers, so this is kind of like spoilers-ish. But this isn't really talked about in the movie or the musical, but it is kind of touched on in the book. And you see in the movie where the beginning of the movie is Glinda explaining why Elphaba turned out the way she did, because it starts with the Wicked Witch's death, and so we go into how she turned into the Wicked Witch, which is Elphaba. And, you know, she kind of goes, well, things are never super, you know, simple, and everyone has their own issues and their own families. And you see the governor going out for a trip before Elphaba is born, and her mother inviting a mysterious stranger into her house, and he gives her a green elixir. And it's implied that they have relations. And then it cuts to Elphaba's being born, and she's born green. And so the lore kind of has to do with who the stranger is, because even in the movie, they don't show his face. And even in the book, it's kept kind of mysterious. We don't really know who that mysterious stranger is. And it's kind of alluded to that he and the elixir that he gave her in that green bottle that Elphaba keeps with her, because it's the only thing left she has of her mother that the governor would let her keep, because he banished her. He was like, take her away. She's green. Go away. And she was raised by their, like, nanny? Maid? I'm not really sure. Dulce Bear is what she's called, and she's an actual bear. So she was raised by a bear, and she's green. So she grew up being ostracized and seeing her mother figure being ostracized. And I just thought that the way Cynthia Erivo kind of embodied all of that was perfect. You know, she sees the hardships in others that she experienced herself, and she has an immense amount of empathy. And it's one of the lines that's posed at the beginning is Glinda saying, how does anyone become wicked? Are they born that way? Or, as she says, is it thrust upon them? And I think that's a really great question. It's kind of one of those philosophical, sociological questions. Do people become evil or wicked, or are they born that way? And we kind of see throughout, and for sure the first part of Wicked, that she was not born that way. Elphaba, throughout the entire movie, is this kind, giving, loving person who is constantly rejected by society because of how different she is. And I think it's a really beautiful movie and a beautiful message to come with, because art reflects life and life reflects art. You know, it's that kind of thing. And there's a lot of that throughout history and today. I was going to say just today, but no, it's been that way around for a long time, where people are judged and ostracized for the way they look or their circumstances in life. And they're kind of forced to become this scapegoat. And that's what Elphaba is. And Cynthia Erivo embodies that perfectly. And I think that's why it was so brilliant to cast a Black woman as Elphaba, because it's just, there's something about living that experience of being ostracized in some way or looked down upon in some way as a person that you can translate to as the character. And I think that was a brilliant choice. And she didn't play the part well just because she's Black, but I felt like it gave it something. And it was a really beautiful interpretation of the character, and it made it feel even better. And that's why I loved the movie so much. And I know what happens in the second part of the musical. That's going to be part 2. And oh man, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so, so good. And Glinda's character, you know, we kind of learned that Glinda's been the bad guy the whole time. I mean, she is not a bad person, you know, but the way things worked out for her kind of, the way she kind of just accepts things and doesn't fight for things to be different kind of shows that she's kind of part of the problem. So she's kind of been the problem the whole time if you watch the movie and see it the way I did. But I thought it was a good choice. I thought it was a really good choice. Also, small thing, well, not really small thing, but the fact that they cast an actual disabled actor as Nessa Rose, who is disabled in the book and the musical, I thought was a really great choice. Because again, as actors, we portray parts and we get into characters and we're like, how would they behave? How would they feel? How would they do this? But I feel like there's something there that's important to have in a character like that only someone who's actually experienced it as well can give it. So I thought that was such a brilliant choice. And she did an amazing job as Nessa as well. And I can't wait to see the rest of it because, again, I know what happens. So I'm not going to say, but I know more of what's to come of Nessa Rose in part 2. And I think it's going to be great. I think she's going to do a wonderful job. So those are really all my thoughts for Wicked. I look forward to the second part. Obviously, it's going to be a long time, a very long intermission, but the marketing is very good. They were very smart about that. They had a big box office like opening weekend, and I feel like the second part's going to be good too because of the way they're doing it, spacing it apart this way. I feel like it's a really good, smart marketing choice. But yeah, now we have to wait a whole year until we get to see that. And by then, I'll make another video about part 2, and I might stitch a little bit of this in with it and make the whole video, like the whole movie, the whole musical. But it'll be a long time before then. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you go see it if you watched all the way through just to kind of know a little bit more before you go in to see the movie, because sometimes I do that. Sometimes I look for spoilers. I'm like, I just need to know what happens. So I hope you all go see it, or maybe watch it when it comes out on streaming, because I know that some people don't like or feel comfortable going to the movies. But definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth. And it's kid-friendly, very kid-friendly. So if you want to take your children to go see it, I definitely recommend. And that's all for this week. And thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel, and then you'll get notifications when I post videos. It's Friday mornings, but just in case you forget. And like this video if you enjoyed it, and comment if you have any other thoughts about Wicked or anything else in general. Go ahead and comment, and I'm pretty good at responding and looking at your comments. So I just want to thank everyone for watching if you did, and I will see you all next week.